Do you ever start something you feel like is a literal dream of God, only to get a few days, hours, or maybe even seconds in and immediately begin to second guess yourself? Well, me too. So let's talk about it. What's up, everyone? I'm glad you're back. Today I just wanted to offer some honest thoughts along with biblical truth. That is probably the best way to receive any advice. And so let's jump into it. Let's talk about starting things. Starting something is exciting. However, finishing something can feel like a bit of a chore, especially if it didn't go the way you were hoping. I remember a few years ago, I had launched an apparel company, and it was going to be this amazing spiritual adventure brand with a focus on outdoor adventures with God. Only one problem: I kind of hated the outdoors. Now, if you're subscribed to me, you probably found me on social media because I do a lot on there. I'm very indoorsy. I love movies. I love books. I love iced coffee. Not a huge fan of heat or being out of breath. Honestly, I'm bored to be mild, y'all. But there was great excitement and anticipation and amazing support for this dream, which I'm thankful for. Only I didn't fully believe in it. So eventually I made the brand, I marketed it, I pushed it, and I had sold the last of what we'd made, and I moved on. And I thought to myself, what a waste of time. Beloved, I want to tell you this: if God asks you to do it, there is no better use of your time. Even if at the end of the day it all seems pointless, here's the good news: Yahweh isn't done by the end of the day. In fact, He has endless days. He is faithful to complete the good work He started, because sometimes that good work is not the work you think you've been doing. For example, in the book of Genesis, God asked Noah to build an ark because there would soon be a great flood, and that ark would take nearly 100 years of his life to build. An ark that would protect them from a flood even though they had never even rained before. Now, the ark wasn't built for the sake of having a nice ark. It wasn't just a prop of good craftsmanship either. No, it was a vessel. It was a vessel for salvation. You see, the ark wasn't built for temporary protection. It was ultimately made for generational blessing. Every single one of us alive today, you and me and everyone you know, we came from that ark. We came from that second chance. Can you imagine if Noah wanted to call it quit after 1 year? Probably lasts longer than I have. Or maybe we'll give him a little more credit. Let's say year 10, 20, 30, 50. After nearly 100 years, he was still faithful to that one word that Yahweh gave him. And in those 100 years, there was no sign of any flood. There was no confirmation that what he was doing was worth the time. There was just the one word of God. And I have to ask, is that enough for us? I have to ask myself that question. Is the word of God enough? And now John 1:1 says this: in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I love how the Passion Translation puts it. It says, in the beginning, the living expression was already there. And the living expression was with God, yet fully God. Y'all, the Word it's not just by God. It is God. It is the living. It's living, it's breathing, it's Him speaking right now. So many of us want a word from God. We're desperate for a word from God, but we neglect just picking one up and actually reading it. Yahweh is not just longing for hearers of His word, but for doers of His word, no matter how inconvenient that word is to your current circumstance. See, starting an apparel brand for me didn't seem like honestly a great use of my time. But it did teach me things. First, it taught me good design principles, what looks good and what doesn't. As you can see, hopefully by my color contrast background, I'm still implementing those elements. Next, it taught me that, honestly, I could do all things through Christ, even the things I thought I would never be good at. When I first started, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing or where to get started. So I did what most people do, turn to YouTube and pray and maybe cuss a little, just a little bit. Eventually, after many trials and even more errors, I learned how to take the design in my head and put it in my hands. I learned about business and taxes and other things I hate. I learned about quality and care. I learned so much that eventually helped fuel, honestly, what I'm doing right now. I'm talking to y'all. And even though it wasn't my final destination, it was a worthy journey. And I'm grateful that I chose to finish well. I feel like finishing well is such a lost art and way of living, especially when we live in such a culture of instant gratification and such frail disappointment. That like when something doesn't go the way we expect, we just abandon it. Even if it's a word from God, even if it's a covenant of marriage. We leave churches when we feel it doesn't meet our needs. We leave relationship when there's the slightest bit of tension. We leave jobs when it gets just a little difficult. You know, I'm so thankful that Jesus did not leave that cross before it was time. Before he could say with his final breath, "It is finished." In case you didn't know, Jesus didn't want to die. He asked his Father, if there's any other way, please let this cup pass from me. He was fully divine, yet fully submitted to the will of the Father. His journey, it was full of being betrayed, being arrested, stripped, beaten, torn, tortured, broken, nailed, and then buried. And his reward? It's us. And our reward for this journey? It's him. Now, we definitely got the better end of that deal. Beloved, I hope you're encouraged today. No matter what you're going through, keep going. The joy of the Lord is your strength. No matter what you're struggling with, keep struggling. Because he isn't on the other side of your completed process. No, Yahweh God, he is the process. You can do all things through him. I love y'all so much. Thank you for tuning in. Again, have a blessed day. Peace.